It's already. It was sad because I was so happy. Hard.
We're gonna stand for the pledge. 221.
Sorry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, as we gather this day to do the important business for the people of the village of VOO, grant us wisdom, compassion, and understanding. Amen.
All right, first item is public comment.
Hi, I'm Michelle Pelton. I really had more directed for EMS and fire. I was online the other day and I saw an Ohio Fire and EMS are doing sensory bags. And I didn't know if it would be something you would be interested in if we collected them and made them, or if you already have them.
They're being done.
Okay,
We already have them being made.
perfect. That was it?
That's for people that are autistic and whatnot. That,
Sensory.
Yes.
Sensory. Okay.
well, thanks for bringing it up.
You know, that's my passion, that community, so I wanted to see if there was something we could do. Good meeting. Bye.
I know.
We're all signed in, I believe.
Anyone else public comment?
Public comment regarding my item.
Karen, and then we'll just cross off the list.
Can I go ahead? Okay. Remember last week, thank you again for allowing me to take the homework project that I brought to your attention last week was the parking needs for Casa Trinity and Cody, which again, they are an outreach program. They have an office on North Avenue, which I own, and they've got two RVs, Class C, 15-passenger type vehicles that they drive these vehicles out into areas with no signage on it, so if somebody's got issues, drug and alcohol, they can walk into these vehicles and have remote offices, and that's how they're meeting a lot of our needs locally, that they're not having to go into a doctor's clinic or whatever, so it's really an easy way to go. The problem we have, as I mentioned last time, right now, they're currently parked in the municipal parking lot over the Banning High behind the police station, and we know snow is inevitable, gonna happen, and I brought to the request that possibly, where the garage doors of this building are, out there in the grassed-in area where there's nothing really parked there. I was looking at maybe we could hopefully reserve a couple of spots throughout the winter months and continue to look for parking spots for these vehicles. I went to, based on Laura's recommendation last time, I went and talked to Sister Mary at Tyler Rural Ministries because we kind of looked to see if there's other nonprofits that might allow the vehicles to be parked there, and she was very open, but she said unfortunately their parking is very limited to begin with and they just don't have enough spots. I went and talked to the prior owner of the locations where they were parked to see if he'd be willing to let them be parked there, and Paul Cavatile said, well, they were tenants and really there'd be no need to let them park there. I did ask Sister Mary if she knew other nonprofits that might have available parking, and she said, Myrna Weagle, where's there parking for much of anything here? So the reality of the situation is where I am again today. I've talked to Nate here, I've talked to Rusty, I've talked with our mayor, and I know Casa Trinity and Cody would love to be able to meet whatever needs you guys need as far as insurances go, as far as agreements go. Nate and I talked briefly on the telephone so that we can maybe find a place for these vehicles to be parked. Otherwise, they're gonna probably take them to Elmira, which that is a choice, because they said they do have a location down in Elmira, but that really takes away from the Cody's program to be able to take these vehicles out into our community and meet people's needs for the drug and alcohol, which I think is a really important, service to our community. So I'm back on the table here, seeing what we can do to maybe get approval to at least move forward, where I can then talk with Nate, talk with Casa Trinity, and see if we can draw some language that meets your needs. Excuse me. That's where I'm at.
Okay. I did have on the agenda an update from the parking committee about that. You guys have any update other than that? Looks like you guys worked with Tim and Nate and come back to us next meeting.
To be honest with you, we've been doing some things, and quite honestly, we are not prepared at this moment to make a recommendation.
Okay.
We have I don't want to get into a lot of stuff right this minute, but we have some citizens who complain about parking and various things, some landlords who have wanted parking places, and they're getting gist of this, are not pleased.
The gist of what's interesting, I'm trying to understand what you're trying to say there.
I'm saying some of our citizens in the village who have parking concerns at various places and have asked us to find parking, supply parking, take care of their tenants, et cetera, are not pleased with us not having responded to them, and are we going to be responding to everyone if we do this?
Well, I think the one thing that, if we talk about this, this is a nonprofit, it's not a business, which I think is a critical difference in what we're talking about here. And obviously that's what you as a board have to contemplate and decide, because this business, nonprofit, is meeting the need of our community in a big, big way. Anybody that doesn't know much about them needs to go over and spend an hour in their office. You'd be blown away at all the services they are doing in this community. And I hate to see the two bands say, hey, you're out of town because we've got no place for you. That's my problem. It's their problem. It's also the village's problem, because they do have a service that they meet to our community. And I mean, I've often said that I could also, if Jeff would be willing, as you go out the garage doors, I own that gray house that you're looking out that direction, I think I'm facing the right direction. I said I could park them, but it used to be the road track area, and have them facing out into the parking lot. But of course, all the people that work here in the building, they typically pull their cars in, so I wouldn't be able to get out because they'd be nose to nose. But I thought, well, I can park the vehicles on my own ground, but I wouldn't be able to pull out unless they decide to move their cars down 2 spaces, so that I can still bring the vehicles out. So I got a way that I can park those vehicles. I don't think that's the best solution, but again, I think the biggest thing is, where Jeff one day took me down there to a pile of just plastic piping and a bunch of sort that's down at that far end of the parking lot. He goes, it's really out of the way, it's not a big deal to me. And the other thing we were talking about, because I did find other parking spots, but back on the county fairgrounds. The only problem is nobody plows anywhere. So that does do us any good in the wintertime when they need to get in their vehicles and they can't get out. That's where I'm at. So I don't know. I guess I need to give them some direction, because they're in a position where they understand that we could get a foot of snow in 2 weeks and it really messes up that municipal parking lot where they're going to put snow. So I'm really trying to do everything I can to keep moving forward with everybody.
Is that all they do, is drug and alcohol?
As far as that's a primary focus, I can't give you every detail of everything that they do, but drug and alcohol is probably the vast majority of what they do, yes.
So
if you go in there, you've got all kinds of, everything from the opioid boxes, the reclaim, people can turn in excess drugs, it just goes on and on. The back side of the building, they actually focus in on going out into the community to meet with people who say, I've got an issue, but I don't want to go to a counselor. Quite often they'll initially go into these motorhomes and have conversations, and the directive and hope is that eventually these people will be comfortable in getting counseling. But these are stepping stones to get there.
Well, as EMS on our side, we see a lot. And a lot.
Yes, you do.
And they don't necessarily know that exists. If there was a way that we could provide them with a card or some sort of information.
They have a resource card. If you go into the front, so the back part is the treatment where people can go in and get help.
You know a little bit about all
I
that.
do. I used to chair the coalition, the Tioga ASAP Coalition, Allies for Substance Abuse Prevention. So the front part of that building is actually prevention. So they're in the community trying to prevent everything that's going on, and the back half of the building is taking care of the people that need the treatment and services.
Correct.
So where you can get the resource cards that we had made up last year, If you go into the front part where the prevention services is, they have the cards that you can give out to people, you know, in EMS cases.
Well, can you take a bunch of them over to the emergency center?
Yeah, I can walk over, yeah, I can go over there, yeah.
So they're available to hand out to people.
There's also, so we have Cause of Trinity here, and then there's also another Cody team from Addiction Center in Broome County who also helps in this area too. So you have two different agencies working together to try to get rid of this problem that we're having here. So when one might be really busy, there's two cards that you could have. This way you could say, here, you have two options. I know there's an 800 number that's 24/7 through the Addiction Center of Broome County. And I can get that information to you guys as well.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I guess the update is just keep working with everybody and figure it out.
If I could suggest, it would be okay, 'cause I talked to Nate briefly this morning, and he said a lot of times it's just a matter of having the language that seems to be agreeable with the board, that you guys understand that,
So just to clarify a little bit, what we had mentioned was talking to, I would need some information about just like what the business terms of the deal are. And I think that's what the parking committee, it sounds like the mayor's saying that's what the parking committee would need to work out with you, you know, like if it's going to be allowed, then for how long, what's the insurance requirement, what's the, you know, emergency removal type of concern or parameters that need to be put in place. I mean, those are all things that just need to be hashed out. And I think that's with the parking committee folks. And as soon as I get that, then I can put that in too.
if there's a checklist of what I need to get together, I'd be glad to do that. And again,
there isn't really like a specific checklist. It's more just what are the concerns that the village trustees have and would like specifically addressed. I mean, those are some things that I just rattled off. I could try to send that in an email, but you know, I'm sure Rusty and Laura, if they're the ones on the committee, are thinking along those same lines already.
if you've got even a few bullet points of what you're contemplating from a legal perspective, that'd be probably good. If you wanted to, start sending an email out where then I can go back to Rusty and the parking committee or whatever, because I'm only trying to, because we're into November, I'm fearful of the snow that's gonna happen, and I really don't want, I mean, they're great neighbors over there, because they're so concerned about not being in the way and not being, you know, they just want to get this fixed and so they can still serve the community. I'm going, we're trying, unfortunately, weeks are turning into months really fast, so so if you want to take my email, or I'll give you my email, maybe you and I can exchange and I can get Rusty's and we can start trying to...
Rusty's. You go to his place.
Smoke signals. I love it.
It's hard to find each other, we're 100 feet apart.
No, I mean, the concerns though, legally, again, I think I've said this, I think that there's a way to do it. The business terms of the deal need to be fleshed out, and that's really, again, hours, length of time, what the insurance offer. Those aren't legal per se, those are things that need to be fleshed out in a conversation with the village folks who are at the point of that. I mean, those are the main things right there. Now, my concern was if the board doesn't want to do it, then I'm not, you know, I can send you all the emails in the world if they're not going to vote in favor of it.
And actually, I'm glad you brought that point up, because when he and I talked this morning, it was like, let me come back again tonight to see if the general feeling is we can try to probably work this out, or no, we're not going to work this out, because it's kind of a waste of everyone's time for us to even think about these things if the general justice, no. So that's kind of what I was kind of hoping for, that the continued feeling was, let's try to make this work if we can.
So I'm going to say it one more time. The parking committee is not ready to make a recommendation tonight.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that one way or the other, we're not prepared at this moment to say that we're on board and we think that that's...
Does the parking committee meet where I can meet with this group of individuals that are...
That is possible. We don't have we meet every Wednesday at 3 o'clock at such and such place, but that doesn't mean we can't do that. So I'll talk to you about that.
Please. All right. We'll continue to be patient.
Sorry.
Just no snow. Say no snow. I'm okay with that, right?
That's a 4-letter word for a bus driver, just so you know.
For sure. Thank you again, everyone.
I hope it can be worked out, because I think it's a
That's a good,
valuable thing. We need to help support the
Definitely need that.
community.
Thank you.
I'd like to find one for me, don't tell me right
I agree.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. All right, so that was still public comment technically. Anybody else? Okay. So now we'll do the Delaware solar presentation.
Good evening, everybody. Rather than stand on top of everybody, I'll sit with you all. How's that? My name is Cindy Mangus. I'm with Delaware River Solar, and we are the leading solar developer in New York State. Right now, we have 3 projects complete, and we're building a significant number more. And we wanted to come and talk to you a little bit about the goals of our company and how they might align with what I understand the village has been working on as well. So I want to introduce Jackie Burke. Our offices are in Sullivan County in Calhoun, where I work, if you know where that is, and also in New York City. Jackie is our local representative. She's the community outreach coordinator, and she handles this area. So she has partnered with WEBO. Thank you, Irene. And if you want to learn more, or after we talk tonight, you decide you want to get involved or get to know us a little better, if you go to the myhometowntoday.com and click on the solar link, you'll get right to us. All right? So what I wanted to do, I'll leave a couple more cards with Mike. I wanted to go over briefly. This is a lengthy presentation, so I will try to not take too much of your time. I know you've got a big agenda, but I wanted to at least go over a little bit about what the program is, how it works, and how it might benefit the village. And feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have any questions, and we can go from there. If you're not aware, we are the company building the solar farm just down the street on Gaskill Road. That would be ours. And we're getting close to completion, and we're pretty excited.
That way.
That way. Where am
I
I?
have them all turned around.
We took like 6 turns to get here, and I was finally worried I wasn't even following the right vehicle. So, okay. So I handed out a slide deck that looks like this. That's what I'm going to try to go through. So first of all, what is community solar? And maybe let me preface all of this with, I am fully aware that you recently entered into a CCA, a community choice aggregation for the village. That does not preclude you from participating in community solar and also getting additional benefits on top of the benefits that you negotiated with the CCA. So that's the good news. There is no downside. It's all plus. So what is community solar? First of all, basically it's a way, rather than have every individual or every village or community have to build their own community solar on their roofs or in their backyard, this is a way to share solar with anybody that chooses to participate. And it's called community solar, and the legislation was passed by the Public Service Commission in New York State in 2015. And since that time, we have been working to find suitable locations and to build those solar farms throughout the state. As I said, we have 3 already complete. I've got some slides about that in here, and we're about to go live with 5 more. The Owego location, it will be our largest probably when it cuts over, but soon after that we have another very large one down in Sullivan County where our offices are. So what is the program about? It was initiated because New York State wanted to be more responsive to climate change, more focused on renewables, and the goal was to be 50% renewable by the year 2030. That's what community solar is part of. It's one of the core principles of getting to that goal. So this announcement is just kind of fun because in March of 2018, the governor's office announced the first large-scale community solar project that had completed, and we're really proud to say that's ours. It's in Calhoun on Bear Road. We call it the Bear Road Project, and Jackie has some pictures that I think she's handing around. You'll see a bunch of pictures. That's our first project that completed in 2018, and that's pretty cool. And I live about 2 miles from it, so I'm pretty happy to also be a customer and probably receiving my power from that location. So what happens? So we build the solar farm. We first have to get concurrence from NYSEG, the utility. We also happen to build in RG&E territory, Rochester Gas and Electric, but around here excuse me, of course, it's NYSEG. So we have to establish an interconnect relationship with NYSEG, which we have. We also have to get permission from NYSERDA and the Public Service Commission to build each of these projects. And that's what a lot of the planning that happens. In addition, the municipality that we build in has to approve the construction of the project through the planning phases, sometimes zoning, all kinds of other factors that come into play. So that kind of takes us through the planning. Then what happens is once the project is built, the power is offloaded into the grid directly. We have interconnections. You'll see right on Gaskill Road, you'll see about 4 brand new, very tall utility poles placed by NYSEG. Those are the interconnect poles that will eventually bring the power from the solar farm up on the property down to Gaskill Road, where it will interconnect on the main NYSEG transmission lines. We do not interconnect the high transmission lines. It's a regular, usually 3-phase is what we interconnect with. So what happens then is the power goes into the grid, but in order for customers to truly benefit from it, they're going to get the renewable energy benefits from it if they are downstream from the source of interconnect, because the electrons flow through the grid and customers will just get their energy supplied from that source. But to benefit...
Are you proposing building a solar farm within the village, or?
No. No, we're proposing the village participate in the program.
Right.
But I'm glad you clarified that.
So where would the solar farm be?
There doesn't have to be one. You can participate just with what we've already built, or if you had a site that you were interested in us building on, we would certainly talk with you about that. So, we interconnect, the electrons flow. In order for customers to get the financial savings, which is what we're here to propose to the village, you have to actually subscribe to the program. For residential and small commercial accounts, the discount is 10%. I'll cut right to that chase. I'm going to flip over to these. I apologize, I didn't number the slides, but we're down on the next page on the bottom. So residential and small commercial customers, that's based on the NYSEG meter, it's based on the service class. Those are eligible for 10% discount. About half of the village accounts are larger commercial accounts. Those qualify for a 5% discount. And the discount is off the NYSEG rate. So every single month when we bill our customers, if the NYSEG rate this month is 10 cents, which is about what it's been, 9 or 10 cents, we bill our customers at 10% below that. So you always pay the discounted rate, you never pay more, there's no cost to sign up, there's no cost to cancel, and the program is simply a savings-based program. Couple of important things. There's no equipment on your property, whether you're a residential subscriber or the village. There's no equipment necessary at all. You're going to get your electricity from the utility just like you do today. Nothing changes. The difference is that you would start to see credits on the village's utility bills. So if it's an account that is eligible for a 10% discount and NYSEG credits you $100 that month, DRS is going to charge you $90, and that's how the 10% discount is calculated. So for every solar credit that you get on your utility bill, you pay the energy provider at a 10% discount. Now, for those of you that were deeply involved in the CCA discussions with the ESCO that was recently determined, right? It's very important that you appreciate that with a CCA, the discounts are applied, or I shouldn't even call it a discount, the fixed rate that you negotiated is applied to the supply side of the bill only on your NYSEG bill. There's 2 sections of the NYSEG bill. There's the delivery side and the supply side. Community solar, known as CDG in New York State, Community Distributed Generation, those credits apply to both the delivery and the supply side. It's like getting a double discount. It's very important. So when you hear me talk about...
10% or 5% on each.
Yeah. Well, it's 10% on both sides, but when you add them together, your negotiated rate on the supply side is a little over 5 cents, right? We're talking about the 10-cent rate, which is the all-in rate. That's the NYSEG delivery portion is about 5 cents, and your renewable energy choice was it 5.47? I forget the exact number, something like that. Just under 5.5 cents. So when you add those two together, you're talking about a 10-cent per kilowatt hour charge. Any accounts that subscribe to community solar are going to get either the 5 or 10% discount off of that. So you're going to pay less no matter what. And you can be subscribed to the CCA and to community solar at the same time. Yes?
So, just make that clear. So if we're getting from Constellation on our CCA, then we can also get the 10% off of that. We don't just get it off of NYSEG. If we're on NYSEG, we get it off of Constellation on there.
As long as the Constellation portion is billed on the NYSEG bill.
Which of course it is.
In most residential cases it is. I can show you if we jump, let me see how far I got. I wanted to talk about the environmental impacts a little bit, but let me get to, there's a slide in here that shows the village list summary of accounts. Let's jump to that and I'll come back so I can answer that question. So this list of accounts makes it appear, and this was just a very rough, first draft analysis, that some of your billing for the village accounts is not on the NYSEG bill. So that's something that we want to take a look at, because if the billing is a separate bill from Constellation, then no CDG credits can apply. The New York State regulation says the CDG credits apply to the NYSEG billed portion. Now on the residential side, if you're a residential customer and you've chosen an ESCO, then almost always the residential supply gets billed on the NYSEG bill, and then yes, the credits will apply. But on a business account, it's not always billed that way. So just something to be aware of. And in fact, that brings me to the next great point, which is the summary that we worked up shows about 400,000 kilowatt hours eligible for the program. If all of your kilowatt hour charges are on the NYSEG bill, you can more than double that. So the savings gets doubled, the 25-year savings gets doubled, everything. But from our brief analysis, it looks like some of your bills are billing the ESCO separately. Okay. So we have to, and one option is to bring it back to the NYSEG bill, and then the credits would apply on both sides. Does that make sense? Questions? All right, so I'll go back. I wanted to talk about the environmental impact. I'm thrilled and just proud to sit here and know that I'm in front of a group of people that have chosen 100% renewable option on their CCA. That's pretty awesome. So the additional environmental impact of participating in community solar basically gives you an idea of, what's the significance of that. So I ran some numbers for you guys and looked at if it were just the 400,000 kilowatt hours from the village accounts that we enrolled, what the impact would be, and then keep in mind that would be doubled if all the billing is on the NYSEG bill. And, sorry, I'm flipping around. And that one is on the one after the billing slide. And you'll see, I took this off the EPA.gov site, has an equivalency, greenhouse gas equivalency calculator, which is pretty cool. So if you want to get an idea of what it would mean for your household to participate, on average, most residential households, obviously we all use a different amount of electricity, but on average, it's the equivalent of taking your car off the road. If you just sign up your house, it's as if you don't drive your car anymore, which is amazing. We enroll about 400 customers per project. The project up here on Gaskill Road will enroll about 1,000 customers. It's 2.5 times the original size that New York State approved. We were originally building 2 megawatt farms. This Gaskill Road project is 5 megawatts. So that's about 1,000 customers. That's like taking 1,000 cars off the road. So
you do have a set number of people per project.
It's not a set number of people, it's a set number of kilowatts.
Right.
So we look at your kilowatt hour usage on an annualized basis. And if you use 8,000 kilowatt hours, or you use 12,000 kilowatt hours, or you use 25,000 kilowatt hours, that's what determines how many people we can fit on the project.
Okay.
It's based on your usage and the total capacity. So at that slide down below shows you the greenhouse gas savings for the village accounts to participate in community solar. You're talking about 62 vehicles, the equivalent of taking 62 vehicles off the road. Now, if all of the billing is on the NYSEG bill, double that. You're talking about 124. It's a huge impact. So that, I love to tell people about the savings, but the environmental impact is pretty amazing. So if you go back just a couple, I'll show you the projects. We have 3 in service right now. The top right one is Bear Road. That's our first project that cut over last year in Calhoun. I actually am a customer on that project. So I get discounts on my NYSEG bill every single month, and then I pay DRS less than I would have paid NYSEG for the power that DRS produces on my behalf each month. And then the one on the left, this is in Monticello, in Sullivan County as well. And then the bottom one is a little west of here out in Lowman, near Horseheads. So we have those 3 live and active right now, fully occupied. The next 3 that we're about to go live with, another one in Monticello, one in Otsego County in Lawrence, New York, close to Oneonta, and the third one is up near the Canadian border in a town called Moores, New York. And those 3 will go live hopefully this month, if not next. And then we've got another, at least 2 that I suspect will go live this year. And then Gaskill is one of another 5 to 10 that is close to completion, and we'll, go live as soon as we can get everything completed there, and all the financial responsibilities and the regulatory responsibilities completed. So if you go to the next page, flip over, you're going to see at the bottom, so how does it work? It's pretty simple, but it is, I believe your CCA program is an opt-out program, correct? So you enroll the entire village and all the residents, and they have to opt out. CDG in New York State is an opt-in. So that's what brings Jackie and I here. It takes a lot of direct relationship building with customers to help them understand about what we're doing, what the company's principles are, and what we're founded on, and convince people to sign up. So you do have to actively enroll. So the 2 things, to get back to Ed's earlier question, one is we'd like to talk with the village about enrolling, and then the second is about a broader outreach campaign to help the residents of the village know about who we are and the opportunity to save some money and go green at the same time. And I should have said at the very beginning, we're partnered with WEBO, and they have made the decision to go green, and we're pretty excited to do a lot of cool stuff with them.
You can actually sign up at myhometowntoday.com to click on solar. You use WEBO as your code, and you can get a $50 gift card too.
On our website, if you click through the myhometowntoday.com, you'll see it'll take you to the sign-up page, and there's a promo code. Put WEBO in that promo code. Okay? And I did some rough math to get the savings, about $2,000 a year, but again, that assumes we only enroll about 400,000 kWh. If we can double that with all the billing on the NYSEG bill, you can double that figure, but that's the estimate. About half the accounts are eligible for the 10% and about half for the 5%. One important thing, on the residential accounts, we have no contract term. Legally, the contract term is a year, but you can cancel at any time with no penalty. So there's not really a contract term. With a municipal account and larger size, we do ask you for 6 months notice. We ask you for a 2-month term, a 2-year term. But if you did decide to cancel within that 2 years, we would ask you for a 6 months notice. And that's basically because it's sizable and it will take us a little time to backfill. So we do ask for a little bit of notice. And as I said, 2-year term that renews at the end of the 2 years upon mutual consent. So you would have the ability at that point to, change plans or to continue to move forward.
Question?
Yes.
Does this require that the village sign up for this program? Can just any resident, any person sign up for it without the village being involved whatsoever?
Absolutely.
So you're basically asking us if we want to do it municipally, and of course if we want to outreach to our residents, but they can do it by themselves, okay?
Absolutely. Yes, anyone, if 2 of you walk away tonight and click on the myhometowntoday.com solar link and get the $50, benefit, yes, whether the village does it or not, but obviously we'd love to see the village involved too.
And since this is going to be a certain, I know you have a number of them, but the gas bill one's going to be a certain size, is there a limit? If everybody wanted to do it, can you accommodate
It wouldn't
everybody?
all fit, but that's okay because we're building.
You can only do as many as...
There's a limited number of subscribers per project, but the good news is, New York State has adjusted the regulation. When they first passed the bill, you had to be in a certain area, in a certain region to enroll in a certain solar farm. They're lifting a lot of those requirements. So at some point, any NYSEG customer will be able to enroll in any project that we have across the entire state. And we're building 30 to 50 more next year. So.
And in Candor.
And in Candor.
Coming up.
Very good point. Yes.
Well, we want the one up at Canada.
Candor.
Canada.
He wants the one.
Canada. Well, we got some up there too, because we're building more up in Morse. And that is really close to the Canadian border, and we're building in Plattsburgh too. So you really can have it almost in Canada or Candor, whichever one you prefer.
I'm curious.
Yes.
Do these solar panels absorb the energy even on cloudy days?
They do. Amazingly, even on, as
Because
soon
there's
as
a lot of cloudy days.
I know. Well, that's a great point though. Hold on. I'm not gonna be able to tell you which side, but find this slide. I love this because.
About 33% going to
Yes.
Germany and...
Yeah, so if you look at Binghamton, right, as a regional hub, the energy that we produce here in this general part of New York State is more than is produced in Germany. And Germany is one of the largest solar producers in the world.
May I have a little comment to your thought? I put a large solar system on my home about 8 years ago.
What's that?
My home, my personal residence, I put a large solar system about 8 years ago on my house, and I've got meters, it's all feeding, and you got 2 meter readings and stuff like that. But to your point, on a beautiful sunny day, it's the equivalent of my generator. If I had a 7,000 watt generator running, meter shows I'm putting out 7,000 watts on a sunny day. It's pouring rain out, it still might be generating 1,000 watts. A dead winter, it's cloudy dead winter December day, maybe 400 or 500 watts, in any given second. But the bottom line is, as long as the sun is shining, even behind those clouds, rainy days, you're producing. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Which, yes.